You are not lazy, you are not broken, and you do not lack discipline. Yet every day ends the same way. You plan more than you execute. You consume more than you create. You stay busy but feel unproductive. And slowly, frustration replaces motivation. The real problem is not your effort. The real problem is how you think about productivity. The productivity mindset reveals a truth most people never confront. Productivity is not about doing more. It is about thinking differently before you act. Modern productivity systems fail because they focus on tools, hacks, and schedules while ignoring energy, focus, psychology, and internal resistance. This book reframes productivity as a mindset first, a system second, and execution last. Once you fix how you think, action becomes natural instead of forced, and everything begins with understanding why productivity is collapsing in the modern world. Chapter 1: The Crisis of Modern Productivity. Never before have humans had so many tools to work faster. Calendars, apps, reminders, automation, artificial intelligence. Yet never before have people felt so overwhelmed, distracted, and behind. This is not a productivity problem, this is a productivity crisis. The modern world promised efficiency but delivered exhaustion. Technology was supposed to free time, yet it fractured attention. Every tool designed to help you work faster now competes for your focus. Your brain was not designed for constant stimulation. Notifications, emails, messages, content feeds, and artificial urgency pull attention in every direction. Deep work becomes rare. Shallow reaction becomes normal. Productivity collapses not because people lack ambition, but because their attention is under constant attack. You are asked to think deeply while being interrupted every few minutes. You are expected to create while being distracted endlessly. This creates a dangerous illusion. You feel busy, so you assume you are productive. But busyness is not progress. Activity is not achievement. The crisis deepens because modern productivity culture rewards speed over substance. Quick replies feel productive. Full calendars feel important. But meaningful results require focus, patience, and uninterrupted thought. When productivity becomes performative instead of purposeful, burnout follows. People push harder instead of stepping back. They add systems instead of removing noise. They blame themselves instead of questioning the environment. This chapter forces you to confront a painful truth. The system you operate in is designed to distract you, not empower you. Until you change how you interact with this system, no productivity hack will save you. If the world is designed to keep you busy but unfocused, then the real question becomes dangerous and unavoidable. Why does working harder still produce less? And that question leads directly into the productivity paradox. Chapter 2: The Productivity Paradox explained. You work longer hours than ever before. You optimize your schedule. You consume productivity content daily, yet somehow the results do not scale with the effort. This is the paradox that traps millions of ambitious people without them realizing it. The productivity paradox is simple, brutal, and uncomfortable. Doing more does not guarantee achieving more. In fact, in the modern world, doing more often leads to doing worse. The reason is cognitive overload. Your brain has limited decision-making energy. Every task switch, every micro-decision, every notification consumes mental fuel. When that fuel is depleted, quality collapses. Focus disappears. Motivation dies. You mistake motion for momentum. You fill your day with tasks because empty time feels uncomfortable. But excessive activity creates diminishing returns. The more you push, the less effective you become. This is where most productivity systems fail you. They assume unlimited mental energy. They assume discipline is infinite. They assume time is the only constraint. Time is not the constraint, attention and energy are. When you stack tasks without recovery, your brain enters survival mode. You become reactive instead of intentional. You chase urgent tasks instead of important ones. You respond instead of create. The paradox deepens when productivity content encourages optimization everywhere. Optimize mornings, optimize evenings, optimize habits, optimize workflows. Eventually, optimization itself becomes procrastination disguised as improvement. You feel productive learning about productivity, but nothing meaningful changes. This chapter exposes the dangerous lie that efficiency alone creates success. Efficiency without direction only accelerates exhaustion. Speed without clarity leads you faster in the wrong direction. True productivity is subtraction before addition. It is deciding what not to do before choosing what deserves your focus. Once you understand this, guilt disappears. You stop blaming yourself. You stop forcing motivation. You begin designing your days around energy, not ego. And that realization prepares you for the most radical shift in the book. If time management is not the answer and effort alone makes things worse, then what actually restores productivity? The answer has nothing to do with working harder. It has everything to do with rebuilding your attention. Chapter 3. The Focus Revolution. Rebuilding your attention. Your biggest enemy is not laziness. It is not lack of discipline. It is not poor time management. Your real enemy is a silent force stealing your future one distraction at a time. Focus used to be natural. Today, it is a skill you must fight to reclaim. Your brain was never designed for constant interruption. Every notification, every open tab, every background noise fractures attention into pieces too small to create meaningful work. Over time, your mind adapts to shallow engagement. Deep thinking begins to feel uncomfortable. Silence feels unbearable. This is why starting important work feels heavy. It is not because the work is hard. It is because your attention has been trained to flee. The focus revolution begins with understanding a painful truth. Attention is finite, fragile, and constantly under attack. Multitasking is not a superpower. It is cognitive self-harm. Each task which forces your brain to reset context, draining mental energy faster than physical labor. You feel busy, but your output becomes shallow. Creativity declines. Decision quality drops. Confidence erodes. Rebuilding focus requires deliberate friction against distraction. You must create environments where distraction is inconvenient and focus is inevitable. That means removing choice. When temptation exists, willpower eventually fails. Systems must replace discipline. This chapter reframes focus as a state you design, not a trait you possess. You do not need longer focus sessions. You need fewer entry points for distraction. Deep work emerges when your brain trusts that it will not be interrupted. Only then does it invest fully. The revolution is subtle but powerful. You stop reacting to the world and start shaping it. You schedule focus like an immovable appointment. You protect your attention like a non-renewable resource. As focus strengthens, something unexpected happens. Motivation returns naturally. Work feels lighter. Progress accelerates without force. This is the moment you realize that productivity is not about pushing yourself harder. It is about removing what pulls you apart. But even perfect focus cannot overcome one dangerous myth that has sabotaged generations. If focus is trainable, why do so many people still fail to take action even when clarity is high? The next chapter destroys the biggest lie ever told about motivation. Chapter 4. Combat laziness, the motivation myth you have been lied to since childhood. You were told that once you feel motivated, action will follow, that successful people wake up inspired, that laziness is a personal flaw. None of that is true. Motivation is not the engine of action, it is the byproduct of action. Most people wait for motivation before they begin. They scroll, they plan, they consume advice, they convince themselves they are preparing. In reality, they are postponing discomfort. This chapter dismantles the most dangerous belief in modern productivity, the idea that you must feel ready before you act. Your brain is wired to avoid uncertainty and effort. When a task feels unclear or overwhelming, your mind labels it as danger. The result feels like laziness, but it is actually self-protection. You are not avoiding work, you are avoiding emotional discomfort. Motivation fails because it depends on mood. Mood is unstable. Energy fluctuates. Waiting for motivation means surrendering control to feelings that change by the hour. Action, on the other hand, creates clarity. The moment you begin, resistance weakens, progress generates momentum, momentum produces motivation. This is the real sequence, but most people never experience it because they never start. The most productive people do not feel motivated more often, they simply rely on it less. This chapter reframes laziness as a signal, not a character defect. It signals that the task is too vague, too large, or too emotionally charged. The solution is not self-criticism. The solution is simplification. When tasks are reduced to small, obvious actions, resistance collapses. Your brain stops negotiating. It moves. The productivity mindset replaces motivation with commitment. You decide in advance. You act regardless of emotion. Feelings catch up later. Once this shift happens, work becomes predictable instead of dramatic. You stop waiting for the perfect mood. You trust the process. Progress becomes inevitable. But even with action-first thinking, there is another invisible limiter that most people ignore. It is not time. It is not focus. It is energy. Why do some people work fewer hours and achieve more while others burn out despite endless effort? The next chapter reveals why energy management beats time management every single time. Chapter 5. Energy management over time management. Time is equal for everyone. Energy is not. Two people can have the same schedule, the same tools, the same goals. One produces extraordinary results. The other feels exhausted and behind. The difference is not discipline. It is how they manage energy. Modern productivity teaches you to manage hours, minutes, and calendars. It teaches you to squeeze more work into less time. What it does not teach you is how to protect the fuel that makes work possible. Energy is the true currency of productivity. You can have 8 free hours and still accomplish nothing if your mental energy is depleted. You can also achieve remarkable progress in a short window when your energy is aligned. This chapter exposes the fatal flaw in time-based productivity systems. They assume that all hours are equal. They are not. Your brain has natural rhythms. Focus rises and falls throughout the day. Willpower is finite. Cognitive energy drains with decision-making, emotional stress, and poor recovery. When you ignore these realities, you force productivity through exhaustion. This creates burnout, resentment toward work, and diminishing returns. You work longer but achieve less. Energy-first productivity flips the approach. Instead of asking, how much time do I have? You ask, when is my energy strongest? High energy hours are reserved for demanding, creative, or strategic work. Low energy hours are used for mechanical tasks, organization, or rest. This alignment turns effort into flow. Rest becomes a productivity tool, not a reward. Sleep is no longer optional. Breaks are no longer indulgent. They are investments. This chapter also exposes a hard truth. Most productivity problems are lifestyle problems in disguise. Poor sleep, constant stimulation, and emotional overload quietly sabotage output. Energy management requires boundaries. It requires saying no. It requires removing unnecessary inputs that drain attention and replacing them with deliberate recovery. When energy is protected, motivation becomes irrelevant, focus returns naturally, work stops feeling like a constant battle. You begin to trust yourself again because progress becomes consistent. But managing energy alone is not enough. Without structure, energy leaks. Without a system, focus scatters. That is why the next chapter introduces a framework that organizes effort, priorities, and action into a single operating system. What if productivity did not require endless to-do lists or constant urgency? What if one simple system could decide what matters, what waits, and what moves forward today? Chapter 6. The three-tier productivity system. Most people are overwhelmed, not because they have too much to do, but because everything feels equally important. When everything matters, nothing truly moves forward. This chapter introduces a system that restores order, clarity, and calm in the middle of chaos. The greatest enemy of productivity is not laziness, it is confusion. Your mind cannot operate effectively when priorities are unclear. When tasks compete for attention without structure, your brain defaults to avoidance. You procrastinate not because you lack discipline, but because you do not know where to begin. The three-tier productivity system solves this by separating effort into distinct levels of importance and intention. The first tier is core work. This is the work that directly moves your life forward. It aligns with your long-term goals. It creates leverage. It compounds over time. This work is uncomfortable, mentally demanding, and easy to avoid. That is why it must be protected and scheduled during your highest energy periods. The second tier is support work. These tasks maintain momentum. They enable core work but do not replace it. Emails, planning, coordination, and preparation belong here. Necessary but dangerous if they consume your best hours. The third tier is maintenance work. This includes routine tasks that keep life functioning but do not create progress. When these tasks dominate your day, you feel busy yet unfulfilled. The power of this system lies in separation. You stop mixing priorities. You stop pretending that answering messages is equivalent to creating value. You stop rewarding yourself for activity instead of outcomes. Each day becomes intentional. Core work receives your best energy. Support work fills the gaps. Maintenance work is constrained and controlled. This structure reduces decision fatigue. You no longer ask what to do next. The system decides for you. More importantly, guilt disappears. When rest is scheduled within the system, it becomes purposeful. When focus time is protected, distraction loses its power. This chapter teaches you that productivity is not about doing more. It is about doing the right things at the right energy level. Once you implement this system, progress becomes predictable. Confidence returns because action aligns with intention. But even the best system can collapse if internal resistance remains unresolved, and that resistance is deeply psychological. What if your biggest productivity problem is not your habits, your schedule, or your system? What if the real obstacle lives inside your mind? Chapter 7. Overcoming internal obstacles. You know what to do. You have the tools, you understand the systems, yet something inside you resists action. Internal obstacles are invisible, but they are powerful. They do not shout, they whisper, they delay, they rationalize, and they sabotage progress while convincing you that you are being reasonable. Fear is the first obstacle. Not fear of failure, but fear of exposure, fear of judgment, fear of discovering your own limits. When work matters, it threatens identity, so your mind protects you by encouraging delay. Perfectionism is the second obstacle. It disguises itself as high standards. In reality, it is fear wearing sophisticated clothing. You wait for clarity that never arrives, You polish instead of publish. You prepare instead of act. The third obstacle is emotional exhaustion. When your nervous system is overloaded, even simple tasks feel heavy. Motivation disappears because your mind is conserving energy. This is not weakness, it is biology. The fourth obstacle is self-trust erosion. Each time you break a promise to yourself, your confidence weakens. Over time, your mind stops believing your intentions. You plan enthusiastically, then hesitate unconsciously. This chapter teaches you that internal obstacles are not character flaws, they are signals. The solution is not force. Force creates rebellion. The solution is alignment. You reduce fear by shrinking the action. You defeat perfectionism by setting completion thresholds. You restore energy by respecting recovery. You rebuild self-trust by keeping small promises consistently. Momentum returns when action feels safe again. When you remove internal resistance, productivity becomes natural. You stop fighting yourself. You stop negotiating with your own mind. And this is where the transformation completes. Because productivity is not about systems or strategies. It is about becoming the kind of person who moves forward despite discomfort. What happens when action becomes your identity? What kind of life is created when you stop waiting and start moving? Final thoughts. The life you create through action. Your life does not change through intention. It changes through action. Every small decision compounds. Every moment of courage builds momentum. Every step forward rewrites your self-image. You do not become productive by learning more. You become productive by acting sooner. The world rewards movement, not perfection, not planning, movement. If this summary challenged the way you think about productivity, then do not stop here. Apply one idea today. Take one uncomfortable action now, and if you want more deep cinematic book summaries that rewire how you think, work, and live, subscribe, share, and comment the next book you want broken down, because the life you want is built by what you do next.